Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
It is the last show of April because this is the last day of April. We're coming up right into May tomorrow. Hey, Andrew Calvin Jr. Hello, the First Lady. PJ, as Talking Memphis Wrestling is on the air, and we appreciate members of Team Hales watching this program today. Big show. A heads up and a high five to producer Adam Dunn. As you guys saw, the new opening that he put together, and it's fantastic. And for new people that's coming in, as LL from Canada's in the house, and BC Collins in the house, everybody's here, and we appreciate it very much. I'll have a little later on Adam play that opening theme again that he worked awful hard for, and I think you will like that. Another thing we worked awful hard for is a new set, a new look. I went to Memphis this past Saturday, and a couple of great things happened. I saw Mark James from markjamesbooks.com, markjamesbooks.com. Mark had a deal at a place on Cleveland Street, and I bought a $250 worth of stuff to make this set and this show. I got all kinds of posters, including the poster over here with February the 9th, 1981, Jerry the King Lawler, Hulk Hogan in the main event. Also, from April 27th, the famous hair match where Tommy Rich stayed under the ring for hours, and that was the Austin Idol Jerry Lawler cage match. Great videos today, great history. We're fired up and ready to go. It's going to be the two of us today, plus, of course, Adam Dunn pushing the buttons in master control, and we appreciate it. We want to make welcome today. I don't know if he's happy. He's always happy. He's just sometimes tired because he's a working man from his home is Alabama. My man Pat Trammell. Don't rush me, people. Don't rush me at all, because my good, close personal friend, a co-host of this show, a sponsor and friend and neighbor of this show. What's going on in your life, Pat Trammell? How are you, and what's your first take?
Well, for a couple of first takes. One, I had the number one. I've got number two in the birth order. Number one in my heart, child home. She got home about 10 minutes. And BC, good to see you, Johnny, and Johnny, BL, Tommy, everybody. Got home a little while ago from school. She's going to be here through Sunday afternoon, and then she's going to go take a mini term in May before her summer break. So it's always good to see her. And you and I have talked, and I have seen a little bit of those great cards, and I envy you that you've got one of my favorite matches. Favorite the poster for one of my favorite matches, the under the ring match, and that looks exactly perfect in our new studio. And also, I did not have the opportunity to get a sneak peek of the new opening, but that is awesome. I really like that with the
All
old
right. Adam always
WMC.
does a fantastic job. He is the best. I mean, we're going to talk a lot of wrestling. And before we do, Pat, we've done your first take, and I want Adam to go, and you look at your monitor, Pat. Adam, if you go with me full screen real quick, and Pat and the audience of Team Hales, as I went to that Cleveland Road store in Memphis, Tennessee, does those not, and we can go back with the two shot now that Pat has seen that. How about that look? And we have others that over time we will put up that. But doesn't that add to the look of the show and make it a little fresh?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely it does. And I'll tell you why we're kind of getting started here. I would recommend to all of our friends who watch the show. You're here because you love Memphis wrestling and the history of Memphis wrestling, like all of us. And I couldn't. You can go on Amazon or wherever, but I couldn't recommend the the works of Mark James highly enough. He's done a lot of outstanding work. Second only to Living the Dream, the Randy Hale story on Memphis wrestling. So uh, would encourage you to take a look for that if you're out there looking for something good to read.
If I did my prep right, there should be a caption up there with markjamesbooks.com. It was a fun trip to Memphis. It was good to see Mark. And obviously, we are going to show a couple of pictures now because it was a fluke, absolute 100% fluke. And people won't believe that. I was in Memphis for a meeting and I was there. And after that meeting, I went to one of my favorite places to eat. I've gone there with producer Adam before. I love Huey's in Memphis, Pat. I love Huey's. Happened to be the one on Poplar Avenue. And I thought,
The newly renovated Huey's on Poplar Avenue.
all right, there's a nice plug ski for the Huey skis. That is good. Hey, I then left there and I drove by. I'm thinking if the King's there, I hadn't seen him in a little bit, I'll stop by and see him. And I went by and his son Kevin's van was there, but his car wasn't there. So I figured he wasn't there. And I said, well, heck, I'll go see Mark James and I'll go buy me some wrestling programs and wrestling posters and to spend some money, Pat, to add to this, to make this show any better. As Jeremy Gibson's in the house and Jeff Frog Wheeler's in the house, and we're rocking and rolling with one of the most loaded shows we've ever done. However, I got down to Cleveland, I go to Park, I look to my right, and I had parked right beside somebody I hadn't seen probably since August. Talked to him on the phone a few times, but everybody's favorite wrestler, everybody's favorite King. And we have a couple of pictures there, one with the poster on it, one, and that one right there, the King, who was nice enough to sign that. And then he said, hey, you can sell that. No way in the world I would sell that, but he autographed the King's autograph there, and that's a great picture. And one more without the poster. I believe we have that picture as well. So that is just classic stuff. One thing before we get to our first video, and we are really loaded here. I've said it many times before. And I could go on a rant, I could go crazy, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody why I do this, why I do this. Now, speaking of somebody that's made his living for decades in the professional wrestling business, starting as a substitute announcer, a sidekick to Lance Russell, to being the general manager of the USWA, the booker of the USWA, and then the owner, founder, and president of Power Pro Wrestling. But most of all, starting at 10 years old in around 1972, I got hooked, and we played the match a couple of weeks ago after watching the setup for the 1972 first sellout ever at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, Jackie Fargo in a hair match against Al Green. I was hooked and obsessed with the world of professional wrestling. Now, I think you don't fully get it. Fully get it until you've done it every day, 7 times a night or 7 times a week, every day. You don't fully get it till you do it as your full-time job. Unfortunately, the territories went away, and the wrestlers of today has to be more creative because they don't work for just one company and they have to find work wherever. And this business is hard unless you work for the major wrestling companies. Back then, the territories, depending on if it was a good time for the territory or a bad time for the territory, we all had cycles and up and down. This show and my mission statement is and always has been and always will be. It is my mission to educate, and it is my mission to keep the legacy of Memphis wrestling alive. Lester Sills. Lester, again, sorry you have my sympathy for losing your wife. Joe Wood, loved her to death for many, many years. Rode up and down the road with her many, many years ago. The King driving, the King doing good, walking good. I was thrilled to death, really thrilled with the King. Thomas Lemon likes the picture we're showing. Everybody in the house and ready to go. Now, Pat, as Adam will back up what you're going to say, and I will cover what you don't cover here before we get to the video portion of the show. I want you to talk a minute, and we have pictures to back this up, Adam. One of the most feared, absolutely most feared tag team of all time from the 70s. They wrestled all over the world, drew money all over the world, especially in the Tennessee territory, was the Interns. And hopefully in a few seconds, the Interns.
There they are with Dr. Ken Ramey.
This set of Interns and the original set, Joe and Bill Sky. Also, we've had Billy Garrett and Jim Starr. And I think this is a picture of Tom Andrews and Jim Starr. It could be Billy Garrett and Jim Starr with manager, the evil Dr. Ken Ramey. And so speak real quick, about a minute, on Steve Clements, on the Interns, and maybe the most memorable angle you remember them doing. Here's
Well,
Pat Trammell and Joe Mobley. Just want to say hello to you. What's going on? And here's Pat Trammell about the Interns.
Well, the Interns in my youth, and this was in the late 60s, early 70s, were Richard, I did not know that about Ken Ramey. I knew he passed away about 4 or 5 years ago out in California and had a second career. But, you know, the heel manager is a lot different animal, was a lot different animal back in the 60s and 70s than it is today. I was terrified of Ken Ramey, and I remember going to see them wrestle. I think they were on the card with with against Tojo and Bill Dromo as the baby faces. And I remember him walking back to me and some old lady yelling at him. And he turned and kind of lunged toward her, and she just squealed. But he had, and this is a 60s and 70s thing. Guys don't put like Vitalis in their hair anymore. But that slick back look with that goatee was just an evil look to me. And I just loved him. And Bo James asked where Ken was from, and I'm gonna try to find that. My first take was gonna be, Bo, your post on Twitter from the that great card from April 30th, '87 in Johnson, Tennessee. But which I appreciate you posting. There's a that's a great card. But anyway, Ken Ramey and the Interns were diabolical heels in the Gulas Welch territory.
Hey, my friend, the greatest cameraman, the greatest video guy, man. He had some booking knowledge as well, Randy West, and I appreciate him being on. He was in Bo James territory, actually in the Smoky Mountains last week. It's good to see him on there as well. I want to say hello to everybody's watching. And also, we are going to once again, and we'll end up with two pictures here. What we're going to do is, I tell you, first of all, is I want to put up that picture of Eddie and Bill Superstar Dundee. Bill Dundee and George Barnes debuted in the Memphis, Tennessee territory, end of 74, first of 75. And George Barnes and Bill Dundee absolutely did sell out business with a lot of people, including Robert Fuller and Phil Hickerson, including matches with Eddie Marlin and Tojo Yamamoto. Then a long feud with Buddy, Ron, and Robert Fuller. Barnes and Dundee drawing a lot of money. George got homesick. George left town, left the country, went back home. Bill stayed here. He teamed with Chris Cote and other people and was still drawing money. Christine Jarrett, the mother of Jerry Jarrett, always thought that cute Australian needed to be a fan favorite. So the match that they switched Bill Dundee babyface was on Channel 13 television toward the end of 1975. It was Eddie Marlin against a young wrestler. The young wrestler they beat up and they hurt. The interns did. It was awful. Eddie was wrestling at the same time. It was the last match on the show, so there was no help at all. So Lance Russell and Dave Brown was begging for somebody, anybody to come out and help. And here came Bill Superstar Dundee, and he tried to just stop it. They pushed him. He made a comeback. And the following Monday was the interns against Dundee and Lawler. This video that we're going to show, very, very rare video. The problem, as Adam says, is this picture early 90s, and it is a early 90s picture. I could have probably found a picture of Dundee and Eddie, but we'll see them on video from the 70s. This is in 1975. I want to tell you about the video. The video was put out there, but it has licensed music on it. So we will get a slap on the wrist or lose our access to doing these shows. So I'm going to ask Adam to mute this video, and Pat and I, as this is a 4-minute, 13-second video, it's the interns with manager Dr. Ken Ramey against Superstar Bill Dundee and Randy's West father-in-law, Eddie Marlin, and very first match in the Memphis territory that Bill Dundee was the baby face. And the finish kind of surprises me a little bit. But back then, you always went the heat route. This is the interns against Bill Dundee and Eddie Marlin in 1975 with the audio muted. This is from Scott Bowden's Kentucky Fried Chicken, or Kentucky Fried Wrestling. And here we go. Look at that bump. Those are big guys, but they can fly as Dundee with the flying drop kick. Then he's just a ball of fire. And completely, you've been around him in Jonesboro. He, even at almost 80 years old, complete great energy. And I'm telling you right now, Pat, you see the superstar with that backdrop and is making an impression on his first babyface turn. What do you think so far?
I'll tell you, when you grow up watching somebody and see them over the years, you get something in your mind. But Dundee was such a great athlete. I mean, we see him, slugging it out with Lawler and others over the years, and kind of being heel baby face. But man, he was so athletic in this match.
Eddie Marlin was just so he goes for his favorite move, the small package,
Inside
the
club.
jackrabbit. 1, 2, and a 2 count. They kick out. Bill Dundee comes from the top, and now Dundee with a cover. Referee Paul Morton down. 1, 2. Eddie Marlin with the drop kick. Not Eddie. He rolling one of his favorite moves, a count of 2, and no, that's all he could get. Dundee. As this is 1977. Pat, look at the action in this match. It's hard for me to call as Eddie goes for the sunset flip.
And there goes Dundee after the mask.
Frog Wheeler too young to remember the interns. Bester says hello from Fort Henry, Tennessee. And as Eddie with those forearms, great, man, very late in there. And Bill gets a pin. Interference from the side. Referees on that side. It was a double pin. Dundee had one person pin, one of the interns pin. He thought he won, but Eddie was hit with the chain, some kind of foreign object from Dr. Ken Ramey. And Bill is mad as he can be, Pat, because he thought he won and the interns won. And here comes the intern. Oh, look at Ken Ramey as you take it from now, Pat, from here.
Dr. Ramey in up. There goes Dundee chasing Dr. Ken Ramey. And to answer a couple of questions, Dr. Ramey was originally from Louisiana, I believe the Bossier City area. He had started as a disc jockey. Richard Dandy Jack Donovan was a wrestler and then a manager primarily in the Gulf Coast area. He retired to Montgomery, Alabama, and died about 15 years ago. But I forgot what business he was in down there. But he and his wife were well known and loved down there.
As the action continues,
into the crowd.
Film in Memphis, Tennessee, referee Paul Morton. And certainly, I think usually when you switch somebody babyface, he comes out with the victory. But in this case, you're building for other partners to come in to team with Bill. So it's a great thing. And Adam has written some notes, and Pat, so the 3 notes that in the private chat that he's written about Dr. Ken Ramey, why don't you, as we come out of that video, why don't you go ahead and read that, Pat?
Well, he was Ramey. Ken Ramey was a referee, and again, he had been a disc jockey, and I think originally he got going in the old Atlanta area. That oh gosh, I forgot who ran it. He was a wrestler, and his wife tried to take it over, and uh, anyway, passed away. But Ramey, I think, retired in the Houston area when his wrestling days were over, and had beat throat cancer in the early 2000s, but passed away in 2014. I believe he was in his early to mid 70s. And Bo knew Jack Donovan and said that he had a painting business and unfortunately fell off of it and was injured.
All right, we are looking at one of my favorite eras of Memphis wrestling, and we do not have to mute this, Pat, because we're going to see some unseen 1970s television Memphis wrestling stuff. And I think some of this we have not seen. It'll be exciting, and it's on the left side of the screen. Adam, as we start this video. This is from 1981, Jerry Lawler returning. This is out of order. This is 81, Jerry Lawler returning from his broken leg in 1980. Listen to the crowd now that Lawler comes out. I'll be quiet. Gives me chills. Listen to that pop, Pat Trammell and Team Hales. Listen to it.
And Lawler just continues to maul him with that big right
Thanks
hand.
to 70s TV.
Well,
you know, I'm not particularly fond of you because I know you're a Lawler fan. A Lawler
And this is
hooter.
Bear. We had an argument
took
on
his
this.
licks.
Bear cut right.
And
This is
now
Chris
he's
Cole,
starting to
who they
come
did a
back.
dark side of the ring.
Shoots
This
some
is
good
Cole
solid lefts
and
and a
Dundee
right.
against the
Tags
Fargo.
him with a right
Dark
that
side of
puts
the
Cole
ring
down
last
on the
week.
deck completely.
Wild story on Chris Coates. There's Bearcat right again, and this is probably in Chattanooga or Birmingham. As Jackie Fargo comes in to make a comeback, Robert Fuller in there,
I'd like to get your reaction about that.
and there's Robert Fuller.
The
Young Robert.
that will be coming up Sunday.
It appears that the leg of Jerry Lawler has been fractured, has been
That's
broken.
Lynn Rossi doing the play-by-play.
Yes, the suplex.
That's George Gulas doing the
dangerous
announcing.
hold. Rolled off. Lawler again showing how much stamina he too has. The two men in the ring now are two of the most powerful wrestlers in the business.
How about this, Pat? Harley
Exciting
Race
tag teams facing you. The
and
winners
Lawler,
of the
and
tournament
now
are
one of the
to
first
meet you
interviews
in
from
the
Dundee and Barr.
opportunity to meet the NWA
We won't
Southern
have
Tag
just a minute,
Champions.
just a minute. You've raved on long enough.
Now Rich is coming back. He's working on Sam Bass. On top of him.
Look how over Fargo was.
Referee Bill Mack, who was hit twice, handing the belt to the Stomper. Here comes promoter Nick Gulas. Yamamoto, Dundee, and Johnson.
Dickerson and Condren. Dundee, Rocky Johnson. Southern Tag Team Championship. Lawler, this is a six-man tag. That's Tojo doing the hip tosses.
Boy,
Bleeding.
he's
Jackie
good.
Fargo is bleeding. Jackie Fargo
This is Fargo in the Sheik, Pat, from Nashville.
This is going to be one of the wildest matches ever seen in Louisville tonight.
I'm sorry, this was Nashville, now back to Memphis.
Zulu refusing to let go of the Mongolian Stomper. Zulu is not even in the ring. And the
Magnificent
Stomper
Zulu, not a good worker,
to
but
break
drew
the
a
hold,
lot of money in
even
Memphis,
with the
Tennessee.
help of four men. Count of two, really didn't quite ever get to two. Lawler tipped Dundee over backwards, and Dundee caught him with a foot right in the midsection. And now Hickerson takes the brunt of Dundee's action. A big elbow to Condrey.
The wrestlers continue. And the Sheik pulled out that fireball right into the eyes of the referee, Tommy Marlin. I've never seen anything like this.
Okay, you want to bring him in, guy?
Check out 70stv.com, and I appreciate that. And what do you think? Because, man,
I've never seen that. That's good stuff right there.
we ring the bell, and we started out with a ball of fire. And Pat, did you print out notes?
I did.
Okay, I want you to go to the second page, and there's a card that I'm going to have you read, and then also Adam will put the card up there on the screen. As we see right here is that poster from February the 9th, 1981. I told the story. My dad was very sick during that time period, and he was supposed to leave Jonesboro and go to a Little Rock hospital the next day on Tuesday morning. So I told my mother, I said, well, I'm just going to stay with y'all tonight. And I had to go to college the next day, so I couldn't go to Little Rock. And of course, this was a Monday night. I couldn't go to Little Rock to the weekend, not to miss it. I wasn't raised to miss school, and I wasn't allowed to miss school. Anyway, my mother said, no, go to the wrestling. Said, you've been talking about Lawler and Hogan for months and months and months, and you need to go to see that card. And we'll put up the Lawler Hogan poster full screen, and go ahead on this card that drew 9,009 people from February the 9th, 1981. The card is up there, and our Team Hales members can follow along. Here's co-host Pat Trammell.
On the February the 9th, 1981 card, Tojo Yamamoto versus Hector Guerrero. Eddie Gilbert and Eddie Hogan versus and Brutus Beefcake versus Angel Ali Hassan. The Southern Tag title uh, was Tony was well. Wait a minute, I don't know who the Southern Tag title was. I guess that was those guys, but anyway, Tony Charles was in that against Jimmy Valiant.
Southern Tag Team Championship match was the Bounty Hunters against Tommy Rich and Bill Dundee. Obviously, first match was Tojo Hector Guerrero, Eddie Gilbert, and Eddie Hogan against, and that was the future Brutus Beefcake in the second match against the Angel and Ali Hassan, a Southern title match. And don't you think this is a contrast of styles, Pat? Read the Handsome Jimmy match.
Jimmy Valiant versus Tony Charles. My goodness.
I bet that was a shits.
I bet it was. I bet it was. And then a 10-man tag, Eddie and Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Hogan, Sonny King, Hector Guerrero, Southern Tag Team title, Dundee and Rich versus the Bounty Hunters, and Lawler and Hogan with Hart as Hogan's manager. And I guess that was after the broken leg comment and the comeback. But that's worthy of 9,000 people right there.
No doubt about it. We're going to do one other one right now. We're going to go to April the 27th, 1987. And while you're reading that card, and take your time with that and talk about this card that means a lot to you, Pat. And I've got to work on uploading the next video. So you go ahead and read this card if you would.
Well, this is one of my very favorite main events here, and it was Bambi and Hunter versus Emily Arthur and Alan West. Um, Steve Kern and Mark Starr versus the Mercenaries. Shima and Hello versus John Paul and JT Southern Tag Championship. Chick Donovan and Jack Hart versus Soul Train Rocky Johnson and uh, Paul Diamond versus Billy Travis, Jeff versus Tanaka, and then finally the main event, the legendary, maybe one of the more legendary matches in Memphis wrestling history, Lawler versus Idol in a hair match in the cage, and we all know what happened then.
Well, if there's anybody living in a cage and hadn't been out since 1987, tell them what happened.
Well, that was the famous match. Paul Dangerly was Idol's manager, and uh, the ring was in a cage, and suddenly an hour and 10 minutes into the match, who pops out from under the ring? But Wildfire Tommy Rich. Uh, no disqualification. Referee knocked out. Lawler gets his hair cut, and that set the stage for a feud that went on for a very long time. It's just the story of that gave Scott Bowden the title of his Kentucky Fried Wrestling because his his claim was that Tommy was under the ring from 2 in the afternoon through every match on the card and had a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, a beer, and a empty milk bottle under the ring.
Richard Hood saying, Randy and Pat, what are your thoughts on Iceman King Parsons' run in Memphis? I have no idea because that was the time I was mad at Jerry Jarrett. Pat always gets mad when I say that, but it was the time I was not around. And honestly, I wasn't watching the television. And I would assume that Pat did not watch Iceman King Parsons because he was living in Birmingham.
Well, but I've seen him over. I've seen it over the years though, and he had a very good run in Watts territory for a long time, and I think I think Michael was announcing when he was in Memphis, and he had a pretty good run. I mean, really, not Coco, not a run like Coco, not a run like some others, but he had an okay run.
Yeah, I wish, I've heard a lot of people that know it was him and Brickhouse Brown as the Blackbirds. They were managed by Harold Harris. Once again, that was a time period that I was not around. Very interesting video/audio. And it's back with really what happened was whoever, and it was Scott Bowden, Kentucky Fried Wrestling, got cassette audio tapes, and sometime then he spliced in video. This is a long video, but it's so cool with these interviews and a lot of the stuff involved in this, Pat. This is very, very, very rare. Again, the video may not and will not match a lot of this, but the audio is the original audio from Channel 13 Wrestling, WHBQ 485 Highland in Memphis, Tennessee, the ABC affiliate. And here we go with this video right now. As you can read what's going on, as I was going to have Pat read that, but he's walked away, so we can go ahead and look at the text that's on the screen. I think this is just a fantastic job that the late Scott Bowden did and put it together, talking about a brash championship contender in Jerry Lawler, hell-bent on ruling wrestling with a chain-wrapped fist. After striking down his teacher, the student ascended to the throne as the monarch of the mat in Memphis. Combing recently discovered audio courtesy of Chips Namus from Lawler's WHBQ early royal proclamation with footage from this era, the story of how the king emerged as the most powerful force in the wrestling galaxy can finally be told. And I think you will enjoy this audio.
The America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside, all ready to go with another big Saturday of Channel 13 Studio Wrestling, coming to you direct from the studios of Channel 13 at 485 South Highland, where we have got scheduled today. Boy, do we have some talent today. 4 matches, 2 singles, 2 tag team events. And an opener, we'll have Melvin Kimball in here. Melvin will be going against Danny Hodge in the opening match. Second match of the day, also a single. Torrey Santos from California, scheduled against Phil Hickerson. Then we get to the tag team matches. In the first tag team match of the day, Burrhead Jones will be teaming up with Rufus Jones, not Rufus R. Jones now, this is Rufus Jones from Arkansas, and they will be going against George Barnes and Bill Dundee, the Australian team. Then in the main event of the day, it's going to be the Bounty Hunters, the Novak, from Tombstone, Arizona, going against the team of Tojo Yamamoto, and back today is his partner, Eddie Marvin. Fine, we got ourselves scheduled 2 singles and 2 tag team matches, and it looks like some good action. We'll have a chance to see the holders of the NWA Southern Tag Championship belts, Yamamoto and Eddie Marlin, back in action after being injured a couple of weeks ago. We'll also see the Australian tag team. Time out for this. 10 minutes.
100% polyester double knit and 100% wool woven sport coats, reduced half price while they last. Remember, Baxter's has a brand new location, 3923 Park Avenue, Park at Getwell. Also 468 North Watkins, 2272 Lamar, and 900 Brooks Road. More rugged than referee that it was Robert Fuller who hit him.
Pat?
And in addition,
100% polyester.
over the top ropes, and
Not 90%,
the decision was
100%.
reversed. And of course, the pin was made on Sam Bass and not on Jerry Lawler. That to be a fact. You saw it right then and there. But you know, it was some kind of bout. Here he comes, the very controversial
brash young king of Memphis, Jerry Lawler, and manager.
This video
Yes,
won't
he still
match.
holds
This
on to
is
the
great
NWA
video,
Southern
a
Heavyweight
great
belt.
audio that we'll
He
hear
is
from the
the
King,
champion at
early
the moment,
King
and he's
from
got himself a
74.
challenge coming up Tuesday night from Rufus R. that just won't stop.
Well, before we get to talking about Rufus R., let's talk just a little bit more about this long, skinny punk Robert Fuller. And before I talk about Robert Fuller, I want to make a retraction, Lance, on a statement I've made last week. I heard you got a lot of phone calls when I mentioned something about Bolivar, Tennessee. Well, I want to retract that statement because Robert Fuller is from Bolivar, Tennessee, and his actions speak for themselves. He's a smart young man, isn't he, ladies and gentlemen? Out there wrestling the King and pinning Sam Bass. Now, if that's as smart as you are, Robert Fuller, I don't need you around me anymore, baby, so don't come back asking for any more matches with me, because when you wrestle me, you're supposed to try to pin me, punk, not a manager. Sure. You know why he did that? He took the easy way out because he knew he couldn't pin you, see, so he decided he'd take the easy way out and pin me.
Sam Bass
That way he
audio.
thought he would get the match, see, but it didn't work. That's how smart he is, right, Sam? Now let's talk about Rufus R. Jones just a little bit. Next time you get an interview on Rufus R. Jones, Lance, if you don't mind, I'll stand out here and translate it into English so the people can understand what he's saying. He comes out here, and if you people had any sense at all, you'd be insulted. The man can't even talk. He's out there saying, Memphis. This is Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Rufus R. Jones, not Memp. Whenever you come to my town, baby, I'm the king, and I expect you to treat me with respect and treat this city with some respect. Now, you come in here and you think you're man enough to challenge the king. Well, I got news for you, Rufus R. Jones. You're going to go down just like those other big men that I wrestled, Bobo Brazil and Bearcat Brown, the Sheik, and Dick the Bruiser and Mr. Wrestling. You're going to go down right in line with the rest of them. Big old, what's his name? He's got me so confused with this Memp, I can't even, Rufus R. Jones. Rufus? Rufus. He can't even say his own name, much less Memphis. Well, Rufus R., after Tuesday night, baby, you won't want any more of the king, and you won't want any more of Memp, because I know you need money. I could tell by the clothes you were wearing. Well, I'm going to give you some money after that match, Rufus, and you can go out and buy yourself a new shirt. But after you get through with me, you can forget about any hopes of ever facing Jack Briscoe, because I'm the man that's going to take the crown off of Briscoe. I'm the king of Memphis, and I'm going to be the king of wrestling, and you're going to realize that Tuesday night, Rufus.
Well, there's a lot of incentive for Rufus R. If he is able to stand there with Lawler and beat him, he does get a shot.
And another thing I want to tell you people, I went out and I talked to Mr. Bates. I heard his interview. I talked to Bates out there. You know what he had in mind, Lance Russell? I could tell by his interview. He knows that even a draw with the king would be just as good as a win, and it would put him in line for a title contention shot. Well, I outsmarted you, Rufus. I went out and I talked to Mr. Bates, and I made him change that match. It's a no time limit and a no disqualification match. Now, let's see if you're man enough to stay in there and try to beat the king. I knew what you're going to try to do. You were going to run and try to come out with a draw. But now you're not going to get a draw. You're going to have to stand there and take it like a man and take the beating that you deserve.
So the match is now no time, no disqualification.
Is that right? That's right. No time limit, no disqualification. You're not going to get a draw with the king. It's going to be a winner or a loser for you, Rufus. You can't beat us and can't outsmart us, can they, Lance Russell?
Well, that's what you keep telling us, Sam. And Jerry Lawler keeps holding on to the Southern Heavyweight title, and he's got his eye on the Big Apple up there, Jack Briscoe's crown. We'll see just how close he can come to it when he tangles with Rufus R. this coming Tuesday night. We're going to be back with a fine tag match with Hickerson and Green going against Marlin and Gilbert in just a moment.
How about this commercial, Pat? Hogan Zero.
Back. You know, if somebody gave that big fat belly an enema, there wouldn't be anything left of it.
79,
That's
Robert
exactly
Fuller
what I'd like to
Golden
do. I heard somebody mentioning that the fella's not going to be able to come back and wrestle him, and you need somebody to take his place and wrestle him. I'd like to do it. I don't have time to plan everything, but I'll get my tights on. If there's any way Mr. Bates will let me do it, I'll be in the ring with Jerry Lawler right now.
Well, I would love to see it. It would make a very attractive match in here. And, well, and I don't care how you say it, everybody saw it out here. The illegal tactic put the boy out of action where he couldn't wrestle anymore in there.
Another one bites the dust, huh, Lance?
Yeah, I know you're proud of
That
that.
punk Fuller's getting to be like a pest. Well, I'm fixing to play like the exterminator. If he can get some tights on, get him in that ring, and I'll show you. I'll teach you a little.
It's okay with him. It's all right with Mr. Big.
Okay with me.
Okay, fine. Well, we, in what time we have left, end up with a delightfully attractive bout right here, Dave.
All right, we have to thank for watching. Good to see Ahmad in the house.
I think you heard him. Jerry Lawler saying line up somebody else, you know, because when I get through. Here comes Robert.
Hey, Ron.
Put his shoes on. And
Glad
he
you're
comes
here.
through the rope. Boom. Okay, Bill Diamond, here we go, Dave. Off goes the arm band of Jerry Lawler.
Now, obviously, the audio from the studio match and Scott went ahead and put a Nashville house show match here. Again, the video not matching the commentary, but you'll see great stuff. Mr. Bunkbait to promote it. Let's go again and get there. And get action from the Nashville Sports Arena.
Fuller after him.
What raw audio we're hearing this. And Pat, I can't remember. Have we aired this on our show before?
I have not. I mean, I've seen it, but no, I don't think we've ever aired it.
And it looks like
Well,
Jerry
the
Lawler's
Ryan's
got a
crowd
cut
on the
over that again
house.
on
Folks
Robert
still
Fuller
making
on the
comments.
fourth.
Richard is, Dave is, Ahmad is, Randy West said hello. And then I don't know if Randy's still around. He might be at a baseball game.
With him back here today, looks like
Water Fuller, Jerry Lawler
again.
didn't particularly like each other, but they had great matches, Pat. That's the thing. Back then, people, that's the current wrestling world. If they don't like each other, they just don't work with each other. What would happen back in the day, they not fight in the dressing room, and go out there and have a 30-minute classic match. That's seen it happen many times.
Fuller comes after Sam Bass.
Richard, we're all doing real well.
I don't think. I don't know what the ruling would be, but it's
Listen to
really
the
one
audio
ball, but
that
it's
then
one
makes
ball
the
for
video.
Lawler.
Two
And
separate
one of the
matches.
name of, as it turns out, of
Scott Brown and the late Scott Brown got a hold
you don't see very often, Dave. Jerry
audio
Lawler with
tape and put some video over.
Our time is up, and that is going to have to be it. You're just going to go down as a loss in the match to Robert Fuller.
I'll get him out. I'll tell you what. Come here, Bates. Come here, Mr. Bates. If I can't have him out here now, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Listen, you've changed 1,000 cards before, but you've never changed one for me. Well, now you can change one for me. Change that card Monday night because I want that punk Fuller Tuesday night. Get him in my match Tuesday night. What are you doing, buddy?
Let me go talk to Buddy Fuller, Lance.
Well,
You've changed 1,000 of them. Change that one. I want Fuller Tuesday night. Get him in my match.
well, you've already got a scheduled championship match with Rufus R. in there against Lawler, so you've already scheduled to go against Rufus R. Jones in there.
I don't care. I don't care. All right, I'll tell you what to do then. I don't care. I'll wrestle Rufus Jones and him too. Just put him against me Tuesday night. I want him again. He's a coward. He won't come out here now like a man. He's a coward. Get him in the ring with me Tuesday night. I'll wrestle them both.
Lance, can I have a second?
Okay, fine. Well,
I'll wrestle them both. Look at it. Nobody does that to me.
Okay.
That's right.
That's what you call a real coward, Lance Russell. On top of that, he went down those long-legged tights of his and got them and busted the man's head open with it. You don't do that to Jerry Lawler, Lance Russell.
Okay.
Never.
All right, Sam. We're going to take time out and see what the situation is, and we'll be back with you in just a moment. Well, we checked with Mr. Bates, and they will not change the card and eliminate the Rufus R match because this is obviously Rufus's shot not only at the Southern Heavyweight title, but a passport into an NWA Heavyweight Championship bout with Jack Briscoe. But he did agree that if Lawler was willing to wrestle twice during one evening, that they would, in fact, book an additional match in there with Robert Fuller. Fuller said great, and so it is booked that way. There will be an additional match set in there. Lawler, in the heat of his anger, agreed that he would wrestle not only Rufus R., but he would wrestle twice, and he would wrestle Robert Fuller also. So that is what has happened in it.
But I am not.
Pardon me, we're going to check over the entire card a little bit later. Right now, I want to remind you of all of the action
that takes place Tuesday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. We, of course, are on Tuesday night due to prior commitments.
Louisville, Kentucky,
For the Coliseum on Monday night, the action will begin on Tuesday night. Bell time will be 8 o'clock. Ticket office will be open from 9 till 12 noon on Monday. Tuesday night, Dave, how about today? Coach Danny, we'll look for you next week right here at the same time, 11 o'clock. Until then, a reminder that Studio Wrestling comes to you from the studios of Channel 13 at 485 South Highland. Directed today by John Wolf. This is Lance Russell speaking for Dave Brown, inviting you back again next week and bidding you a very good day.
Man, the podcast where our mission, not just my mission, but Michael St. John, Chris Ellis, and Pat Trammell, and producer Adam Dunn wants to educate, teach. We want to tell you the history of Memphis wrestling. And as I work on our next video, just that we'll go full screen with Pat Trammell, and Pat will discuss his thoughts on that audio from Kentucky Fried Wrestling. Here is Pat Trammell.
Well, number one, I miss my friend Scott Bowden a lot. We used to talk about every third Sunday night just about wrestling, and I miss him a lot. But you know, there's and maybe several of y'all have seen this more than I have, but there's so little video out there of Lawler and Sam Bass, unfortunately, because I think Sam passed away in the car accident not too long after all this. I have seen in a separate video the Fuller and Lawler in Louisville going up the stairs and throwing each other down the stairs, and I tell you, that's some serious stuff right there. Richard, you mentioned that Lawler and Fuller had a program in Atlanta too. If you know, when was that? Because I'd like to do some searching around on that. Anyway, that's some good stuff there. I think I've seen Jim Cornette show that tape on some of his YouTube stuff before.
We have a couple more videos, and one of them, the second one we'll show is on the clip side, and it's from 1977. I'll explain that when we'll get to it. But here's another one that will kind of do a few things that's repetitive from the first video we saw a long time ago, and we are going to show the video on the left side of the screen now from the 70s TV. Then we'll come back and we'll talk classic programs, and I'll show you two more of the cards that I got from Mark James, markjamesbooks.com, and we will have that graphic up there, but right now we'll go with this video.
Southern Heavyweight Championship match. Sam Bass, you see, arguing with the people at ringside.
There's George Gillis again. Pat, what do you think of him as an announcer?
Harley Race. Harley Race, being a former world champion, has got to be one of the best. There's the elbow smash and the elbow drop.
As an announcer, George
Lawler
Gillis
on top of him.
George
1,
Gillis.
2. Race pulled out of it miraculously. Harley Race pulled out of that. What stamina. That man has a lot of stamina. Jumped, completely bumped Jerry Lawler out.
Robert Fuller has waged a tremendous battle against this huge hulk of a man called the Mongolian Stomper. Look out, as his manager Bearcat Wright starting in the ring. That gave the Stomper a little break. Drives off Robert Fuller. Both men, the referee all down. A terrific shoulder block, and Bearcat Wright is in the ring. Bearcat Wright is dragging the Stomper over.
That's the Mongolian Stomper and Bearcat Wright.
Robert Fuller, the referee getting
and also
1,
Robert Fuller.
2, 3, that's it.
And the Mongolian Stomper.
Thanks to Bearcat Wright.
I think the announcer is Harry Thornton. Am I right on that, Pat?
Here's Big Graham coming in.
I think
they
so.
are the current Australian champions. the Australasian
We heard a
tag
little bit about
champions,
this
that is, of
earlier, and
Australia
we'll be
and
quiet
Asia,
as we hear
and
Bill.
they currently hold the
I don't think George says
NWA
anything.
Southern Tag Team Championship title. I'm referring to Bill Dundee and George Barnes. They'll be making their first appearance. We've been in 7 cities with them, have yet to see them defeated. They are #1 in the World Tag lineup. They have yet to meet the world champions, and they're here to talk to you for the first time. Bill, well, could you all stand up for the folks here?
Mr. Russell, just let me tell you one thing now. William and myself don't stand up for anybody. If you want to interview us, you'll have to sit down.
Jackie Fargo had been wrestling Jerry Lawler here in the fairgrounds of Nashville, Tennessee. These men have had a series of grudge matches. It has come to a head. It appears that the leg of Jerry Lawler has been fractured, has been broken. They are trying to get a doctor at ringside. The crowd here, of course, very satisfied with the result.
And now Sam is working on the still almost unconscious form of Tommy Rich. Blood coming down his face now. Blood flowing down the front of his face. And Sam Bass has it all to himself. As the referee, one of the Germans bleeding. Look at the blood on Von Heller. That's Otto Von Heller.
The Tojo Yamamoto, Tommy Rich tag team, Pat. Do you remember them?
I remember them. I don't remember who they wrestled.
Kurt and Carl Von Heller in this match.
Okay, don't remember them. I remember the Von Brauners.
What a look at the people. Look at the match of people.
Jackie, who took his
now
legs.
We see
And now he's starting to come back.
Again,
Shoot some good solid lefts and a right.
Remember the stories about
Tags
Chris
him with a
Colt?
right that puts Colt down on the deck completely.
I think
Jackie
that was
really getting a
Ronnie.
head of steam up now. Fires him into the ropes. Knee to the midsection. Picks him up. Drops him with the atomic drop. Goes for the cover as Roughhouse charges Bill Dundee.
After President Munchnick's glowing reports on it, every city in the country wanted a return match with Ron Fuller trying to take Briscoe's title away. Knoxville has it on Sunday in the Coliseum. Ron, this should be a great day for you.
An absolutely top day, as good as you can go, baby. I have so much to say, I don't know where to start.
What is
11,500 people come to their feet.
He was standing on something. I don't know.
He had to be.
And broke the count at 1.5. Once again, Lawler slammed hard into the turnbuckle. Ripped with a right hand from Temujin. The Southern Heavyweight
That's when
title
they
at
called
stake.
him
A capacity
Hamilton,
crowd
the
gathered.
Mongolian stomper.
As they
He
have
dropped
seen
that pat pretty quick, didn't he?
Yeah, I saw him later in Georgia, much later, and I tell you, he's a different guy in Memphis.
The ropes, comes down and rips him across the face with that top arm.
A different good or a different bad?
Different good.
But Jerry Lawler cannot get the Mongolian stomper off his feet.
Richard, I don't think
Referee Paul
Terry was
Morton.
old enough in the mid-'70s.
Pushing Lawler back. And Lawler now determined to go after
Loaded
him.
boot.
Moves in and the stomper catches him. Let me ask you, can you answer just simple yes or no? Did you give the stomper
I don't know
something
whether I
to
can
use
say
on?
yes or no or not. That's a big question. About what can I say yes or no?
Did you give the stomper something to use on Jerry Lawler?
Absolutely not. It's unthinkable.
Well,
Absolutely not.
The
It's not tired of even being bothered with this whole thing.
Well, let him go on out. The NWA will make the decision. You've heard it from Bearcat Wright. You will hear it from some of the wrestling fans who were here as to whether there will be a
All
return.
you fans has got to do is remember what I told you. Don't let them stack the deck against us.
Okay, Bearcat Wright has had his say. This is Lance Russell from the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum.
Courtesy of 70s TV. And I think this is a superb show, if I do so say so myself, but I had good luck finding some video and seeing things and hearing things we hadn't seen before. Just a fantastic, fantastic series of videos we've seen.
It really is. You know, there's some folks on there that I didn't see a lot of. Again, I saw Archie Golden, the Mongolian Stomper in Georgia, and he was not the worker in Georgia in the mid '80s that he was there. And I never got to see a good bit of Bearcat Wright, which I regret on the mic and in the ring.
We had several people come into the show and they came in late and missed out on the great work, because I've been telling Adam I needed something, I'd like something a little different than our regular open, like the open, but I thought that we needed a little bonus, and he did a fantastic job. So folks, we are going to do a reset right here at the top of the hour. This is Talking Memphis Wrestling. I'm Randy, he's Pat, and we will reset right now.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Randy Hales, Pat Trammell, here we are talking Memphis Wrestling. What do you think of the new open, Pat?
I'll tell you, I did thank you, because I wanted to have just a second to thank Adam for putting that together. That is, I love the TV5 and the Steamboat, and it it moves into Memphis Wrestling, and then it goes into our logo, and that really gives me chills. And Ahmad, thank you for that. And Ahmad, good to see you. I didn't get a chance to say hello to you or Al either. But yeah, that is an awesome opening. I'm really, really, really love that.
I want to make a special announcement. I think everybody that's watched the show from day one knew that for several years, every Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was at the Front Row with Budrow radio show in Jonesboro at the EAB studios, and took a couple of hours out of my Wednesdays and a couple of hours out of me making money. So I haven't been doing that on a regular basis. My call, but co-host Randy Myers called me or texted me this morning and asked, he's by himself and he has guests for 2 hours, but for the 7 o'clock Central to 8 o'clock Central AM time period, I have an hour on Friday morning. Catch me on the Front Row with Budrow, 953theticket.com. Now, I told you at the start of the program that I went to Memphis and saw the King, and also just happened to run into Mark James, and I did that intentionally, but then also happened to run into Jerry Lawler and his son Kevin. It was good seeing them, and I bought a bunch of programs, and I bought 4 posters. 2 of the posters are behind me on this, and when I get bored with that, we will switch to the new ones. But I want to show you, Pat, a couple of the other great posters that I got. Can you read that main event?
That's Jerry Lawler and the American Dream.
In 1977, and Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey against. Let's look at this. Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey in a Southern Tag Team title match against Tommy Gilbert and Tommy Rich. $1,000 challenge match. Bad Leroy Brown against Bill Dundee. 3 weeks away from week 1 of Lawler against Dundee. We also saw no disqualification match between Mike Stark and Rocky the Snowman Johnson, a Southern title match, Paul Orndorff champion against Flyboy Frazier. Sylvester Ritter, the soon-to-be who? Who's Sylvester Ritter, Pat?
Junkyard Dog.
And the pro against the Exterminators in the opening match was Jim Garvin before he was Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, a young Jim Garvin against Radamias Bill Howard. And this was on June the 18th, 1977 at the Mid-South Coliseum. By the way, the reason I have this here and the two, I just have the two there and I can't take those off. And the other one is right here ready for me to do next. And the reason the programs are right here beside me is because I will show them all. So I want to take a look at another poster, and hopefully this is from March the 4th, 1985, 2 weeks before Tom Ernesto started booking here. Can you read this main event, and would you pay to see it?
Looks like we've got the Fabulous Ones versus the Rock and Roll, and absolutely, I'd pay to see it. I'd pay to see it today.
Also, the co-main events for the AWA World Championship match, and I'm going to see if you can see that. Can you read that? The semifinal
King Lawler, Nick Bockwinkel.
What a classic match!
How many matches did they have, Randy?
Over the years, I bet 30.
I'll tell you that some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life is Lawler and Bockwinkel.
The brand new set, Roger Smith and Don Batts, the interns in the 1985 against Tim Constance and Steve Ashley from Kentucky. Tracy Smothers against the Phantom of the Opry. It was David Haskins against Jim Starr. Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo, and Handsome Jimmy Valiant against Adrian Street, Eddie Gilbert, and Mr. Wrestling. And the Nightmares and Flyboy Frazier against Brad Batten, Mark Batten, and Tojo Yamamoto.
Now, is that Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods or just a Mr. Wrestling?
I think that Mr. Wrestling was Tommy Gilbert, I think.
Okay.
Are you impressed with my these classic programs and posters from MarkJamesBooks.com and also Memphis Wrestling History on Facebook? If you guys would like to look at the programs, look at all his books. And another thing that I want to tell you is I have most of Mark James' book, but over the years I've misplaced them. And one, Pat, I guarantee you, if you hadn't seen it, you will go to MarkJamesBook.com probably while we're on the air right here and order it, because this one, he has multiple years. This one right here, can you read the title of it?
Memphis Wrestling History Presents, 1977.
The War for Memphis. Can you see the pictures? You see Lawler, Jarrett, Nick, and George.
I'm going to order that right now. And I'll tell you, I've read several of Mark's books, and the guy is, I don't know how it is. I've read a lot of books, and I know a lot of authors. Most of them write some history stuff. But your book is at the top of my list, but Mark does just incredible research into what he's covering, and I enjoy that.
Great stuff for sure. And I also bought four of these posters that he made and put together, and I want to count here 3, 4, 5 of these programs, and he has it laminated and right here. And I want you to take a look at this, and this is a little hard to see. This is the old style Wrestling King of Sports, Nick Goulas program. This one was on, this was before they had wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum, Pat, and the main event was from June the 12th, 1967, Ellis Auditorium, and the main event was Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo against the Blue Infernos, and I have no idea who that was. I'd have to take it out of this to show you all 4 pages of the program, but that gives you an idea.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I spent $20 on this from Mark, and at the time, do you see what the people at Ellis Auditorium paid for it?
I can't read it.
10 cents.
10 cents. Well, I can tell you that format that you see with wrestling as a semicircle and the King of Sports below it, I've seen those out front of the Boutwell Auditorium 55 years ago.
That is fantastic. Just no doubt about it. I want to appreciate for the first time in a long time David Smith from Omaha in the house. Todd is saying hi to me and you both. Michael Butler saying hello. Richard Hood that really thinks that Nick Bonkwinkle, and he's right, is a great champion. Richard Hood says Leroy Brown played football at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, and Gary says Austin Idol, Best Hill, and Jerry Lawler, Best Hill, as well. As we have people with comments and with great comments. And I am going to another program. I have 4 of them. And remember, as we will go ahead and put that caption from Mark, if you would, Adam, put the caption from Mark James' book up there. And we're going to talk about a year later from what I just read you. This is June 17th, 1968 from Ellis Auditorium. And this is that classic program. And if you can read the main event, Pat, go ahead.
Let me see if I can get my glasses on. Red Shadow's mask at stake in main event.
Red Shadow, actually, it was Jackie Fargo against the Red Shadow, and then Tojo and Cieto against Herb Welch and Corsica Joe. There was also Don Carson against Dennis Hall, and Ken Lucas against Buddy Fuller. Can you believe that? Classic stuff from the 60s. And that card that I have read is June the 17th, 1968. We heard from 67 and 68. And at this point, as we continue with these programs, we are jumping to 1974, and this is from July the 15th, 1974, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. By the way, by this time, inflation has hit, and the main event for this is Jerry Lawler against the Sheik, and also the semifinal, Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo against Al Green and Phil Hickerson. It drew $11,700. This is July 15th, 1974. We'll run through these and then let Pat comment on all of them. This one is from March the 24th, 1975, and this was a barn burner. The main event was George Barnes and Bill Dundee, the Australians, against a team of Robert Fuller and Phil Hickerson. Then a Southern Championship match as Ron Fuller was the champion against Big Al Green. So that is just a very interesting card from 1974. We have 2 more that we want to share with you here, and the next one is July the 7th, 1975. This is just classic stuff and education, as you see week after week after week, week after week after week. We had these great cards, and this one is the Mongolian Stomper against Jerry Lawler at the Mid-South Coliseum, and Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo against Chris Cote and Bill Dundee before he was a superstar. This is 5,998 people from June the 7th, 1975. And the final picture or the final program we have, June the 6th, 1976. Can you read that? What's at the top of that program, Pat?
Gorgeous George Jr. battles Lawler for title. Tommy Gilbert versus Cowboy Frankie Lane in rematch.
And also a feature 6-man tag team match. Fabulous Jackie Fargo, Jerry Jarrett, and Tojo Yamamoto against Don Green, the Scorpion, and Sam Bass. We also saw Tommy Rich and Bill Dundee against Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey. The Dominoes and J.C. Dykes against Charlie Cook, Don Anderson, and Don Krenodal. This was from June 6, 1976, the bicentennial year, and that drew 9,008 people. 9,008 people, as we certainly remind everybody to check out Mark James' book. Don't forget, look at all of his books, and the one that I used to have and didn't have anymore, and I purchased that. And man, this is a big.
I just ordered it.
All right. Can you tell everybody what the price was on the book?
I can indeed. I believe it's $24.99. I ordered it off Amazon, and let's see what it says.
And the name of the book is Memphis Wrestling History Presents 1977, The War for Memphis by Mark James.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 2886.
All right. You will love having that.
I will. 4.7 stars.
That's great.
Out of 5.
And he does a great job as well. So my new friend.
Can I have just a second?
Yes.
I want to answer a question. Frog Wheeler asked me my opinion on Harley Race or Nick Bockwinkel. Frog, I got to go with Nick. I love Harley, but Harley could not talk like Nick, and Nick could keep a match going. I don't think Harley, and I know Harley and Lawler had some matches, but Bockwinkel and Lawler were classic to me.
I thought, honestly, overall, Harley, one of the greatest NWA champions. He was just great. For some reason or another, style clash, and Harley Race wasn't a big fan of Jerry Lawler. So the Bockwinkel-Lawler matches, I agree, were a lot better.
I agree.
Just a lot better for sure. So this, how successful, a last minute trip. I went to Memphis Saturday morning, happened to see on Facebook what Mark was doing, went out there. Man, what good stuff we could show on the show, and it's good research material for the show.
I wish I'd have met you there for sure. I'll tell you, that's special stuff.
I'm not going to be professional here, but Big Mess is right. I've dropped the program down, and so I got, because I don't want to damage them, the programs and the thing. I am picking them up off the floor because we don't need them to get dirty. I don't need to get any of my dip on them, so we are cleaning that situation out. And I could have spent $1,000, Pat. I really could have. I mean, I went crazy. Lawler kind of joked with me and ribbed with me, and when he signed 2 of the programs, he said you can you can get your money back. That's what he said. I signed that. You can sell that poster for $250. And I said, you think I would do that for anything at all? And I wouldn't have. Shane says, Randy, were you around when Bill Dundee supposedly? I was not. I was around, but I wasn't in Nashville. I was still living in Jonesboro for that. That was 1982. So I was 1 year, 2 years out of high school for that part. David Smith says those programs are keepers. And again, go to markjamesbooks.com, go to Amazon, check out Mark James. It's Mark James Books, and it's Memphis Wrestling History and the book. And now I don't know what the heck I did with it. I got so much stuff. It's Memphis Wrestling History presents 1977, the War of Memphis. And can you see these pictures very clear, Pat?
I can.
Discuss them.
Hold on.
There's Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler.
Looks like you Dundee and Lawler. Looks like I see Rich in there. I see Lance and Dave obviously in the middle. I see Nick on there. I am really, really looking forward to that.
Just very good stuff. Does it say how long before you'll get it, Pat?
I'm going to get it in 2 days.
Oh, my goodness. You paid extra money, didn't you?
No, well, years ago, my children figured out my Amazon password. So because of them, I'm a regular customer. So yeah, I guess I get good delivery. But I'll take it for that.
That is fantastic, man. This is not the greatest thing I'm fixing to show you, but it is funny. And usually I think funny means no money. It is from the very early days of TV5 Wrestling. You compare the look of the studio and the set to Power Pro Wrestling, you'll think, man, that goes way back. The ring doesn't look good. And it's just a different situation, but we're doing big business, and it was in 1977. Our microphones will not be hiding this, Pat, so just enjoy it for sure. Enjoy the video, and then we'll talk about it. And it's a fairly lengthy deal. It was Brute Bernard, the late Brute Bernard, long time veteran heel, and his tag team partner, the Angel, the French Angel, that later on became referee Frank Morrell. He was from East Tennessee. I'll ask you right before we get to the video, as they're wrestling Armand Hussein and Mike Hendricks. But how much do you know, and have you seen General Homer Odell? Hello, Gail.
I have not seen as much of Homer Odell as I wanted to. I think he's a kind of unsung character out there. I've heard Cornette. I've seen some of it. I've heard Cornette talk about him a lot. I think he was kind of somebody Cornette sees as somebody to emulate. Maybe, I don't know.
It's Brute Bernard and Angel Morrell versus Armand Hussein and Mike Hendricks from summer of 1977. Jarrett's TV debut in March of 1977. And again, this is long and this is very rare. Our mics won't be hot till we come back out of this, but it'll be very interesting to see from 1977. I can't wait to continue to look at my monitor on the left side just to see you and your reaction to this as we go to 1977. Brute Bernard, Frank Morrell, and their match, manager General Homer Odell.
Calhoun. Okay, the Brute and the Angel back in here, and I don't recall it again. We invited General Homer Odell over here. That's Dave Brown's chair.
I don't care whose chair it is. I am an unhappy man.
Okay, bell time, and here we go. Yeah,
I am an unhappy man.
You're unhappy.
It's embarrassing to me to have to walk out there in front of a crowd of people with my North American Tag Team Champions and find ourselves on the first and second match.
Well, you're in a tough tag territory in there, General. I told you that.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my mark on some of these dudes around here, some of these yellow bellies, and I'm going to put my mark on them. I'm going to get rid of them. I want some men in here to face my boys.
Well, you got one
tired of all
right
these
now that the Brute's
preliminary crumbs around here. It's embarrassing for me to have to walk out there in a preliminary match. I'm going to be on the main event around here because I'm going to get rid of these bums, and they're going to have to bring somebody here. Bring me champions. That's what I want.
Well, there's the African champion in there, and he's doing a pretty good job of handling the Brute.
Yeah, he's the African champion. Look what a mess things is over in Africa now. There's no wonder he's over here.
Yeah. Armand Hussein with the Angel.
Armand Hussein. I'm going to start with him. I'm going to put my mark on that dude.
Yeah. A lot of guys have been trying to do that for some time. That's young Mike Hendricks in there right now. Mike from Mobile. We got about 10 minutes in the exploration.
Young Mike Hendricks from Mobile. Do you call that opponent? Do you call that an opponent?
General, if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to stay here. We've had enough of it today. I don't necessarily need you.
How'd that feel, Mobile, Mike?
Brute Bernard.
Put it on him, Brute. Put it on him.
If you can hear me, Brute Bernard working on Mike Hendricks in there and nails him across.
Looks to me like he's pulverizing Mobile Mike.
Yep. That's Homer Odell,
General Homer Odell.
The general of that bunch of renegades that are in his legion. The Angel comes in against Mike Hendricks, powering body slam in the center of the ring. Doesn't go for a pin even, grabs him by the hair and jerks him right up off the floor. Armand trying to get a tag.
Let him rest. Show him what you made out of. Show him where it's at.
The Brute in, and Hendricks tags Armand, and there's a body slam for you. Armand picks the Brute up and hammers him down, goes right after the Angel.
You're embarrassing me. Give it to it. I didn't say take it, I said give it to it.
The Brute rolls out of the way, and Armand hits that canvas hard in there as he was getting ready to, there's a tag on Mike Hendricks. Armand going for a breather, and Mike Hendricks, before he can get started, being hammered by the Angel. Ooh, right across
Mike
the small
Hendricks
of
was
the back.
beaten yesterday.
Yeah.
When he heard he had to face my man, he was beaten yesterday.
3 minutes passed as the Angel once again throws Hendricks in as General Homer Odell is telling him to slam him through the mat. Drops him. Oh, right across that back. Count of one. And he breaks the count. Referee Jerry Calhoun talking to the Angel in there, and that's like talking to that ring post. And he's got more sense than either one of them. Here comes that goofy Brute in there right now as the Angel holding Hendricks outside the ropes, and the Brute comes at him. Right in the middle of the back. Referee Jerry Calhoun trying to get him.
The Brute is a happy man now.
Oh, yeah, he's a happy man. Brute Bernard hammering down on Mike Hendricks, and a tag on the Angel. Mike just really not with enough size and experience to go with these guys in there, as he has been giving it a good go, but they've been beating him on the back, really working on him. Ooh.
Don't let him rest. Give him some more.
The Angel with Mike Hendricks. Mike Hendricks once again. The Angel working on the small of that back in there. He has been really clobbering him with that knee to the small of the back. There's a tag on the Brute. Angel holds him, and the Brute also comes right down on the back.
I bet your Mobile Mac right now is cussing his mother for the day she gave birth to him.
We got about 6 minutes of time left in our expiration of time match.
I don't think it can last 6 more minutes. I think it can last 6 more minutes, Angel.
That weird brute in there, wiggling and wobbling around and stomping on Mike Hendricks. There's the Angel back at it. He's got one thing on his mind, working on that back.
That's distraction.
And
that's what he's got on his mind. Get rid of some of these dogs around here.
Armand Hussein trying to get in a position where he can tag.
Not yet.
They've got Mike Hendricks, the brute, looking on as the Angel in the ring takes Mike Hendricks straight up in the air.
There it is.
Thundering suplex as now the Angel on top. One. Well, they go ahead and pin the guy. They've got him.
I don't want to pin him. I want to punish him.
You want to lock him. 5 minutes to go in this expiration of time. Mike Hendrick has just been under the gun now for about 3 minutes.
What's going on in this ring today? They're not going to come out here except in the challenges for my men.
Yep. Hendricks slung right out of the ring by the Angel.
Come on, dude, come on.
Mike out on the floor. Armand Hussein in there trying to level off on the Angel and the Brute, and that's not a good pair to go at it. The Brute and there goes General Homer Odell. What is this? Homer Odell leaving, thank goodness. Finally, they've got Armand Hussein tied up in the ropes as Mike Hendrick is out of the action, and there comes that goofy General Homer Odell in there. O'Day, what is this? Now let's get that stuff out of here. Homer Odell in there with a bucket. Oh, no. He's got a bucket of paint in there. Get him broken up in there. So here comes Bruce Swayze, Plowboy Frazier. Thank goodness. And Homer Odell up there with that bucket of paint. Armand coming at him. Armand Hussein right in the face of Homer Odell. He painted up Armand. Oh, no. Homer, oh, what is this day today? Man, if there's a back door, I'd get it out of here. Homer Odell. Armand dumped the whole bucket of paint right on him. And don't be coming near me.
I want you to look. This ain't no way to treat a field marshal.
Hey,
I say it again. This ain't no way to treat a field marshal.
You're the one that started it.
I'll tell you what now. They had their fighting. They embarrassed me. And that big fat trouble line. And that son of a... The next time he faces me, he's going to make 300 pounds of wrestling tape. I'm going to be the signing ring.
Yeah, you'll be...
You do not.
He loves
I
that.
repeat, you do not.
Say, why don't you get around here me with
Shut up before I kiss you.
All right, now get out of here. You just, that'll make him very happy. You just hope that you don't ever put any tights on. Okay, we'll take time out. Paint on the shoes, paint everywhere, but at least I'm not in as bad a shape as Homer Odell is. Homer Odell saying the next time he sees me, he's going to be wishing he hadn't, because I'm going to have tights on, 300 pounds of, well, we're going to take a break right here. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Sojo is yelling something at a referee. This is Dundee. I believe Barnes has some sort of... Here's the Louisville Gardens. Yes, he does. Look at that. George Barnes working on the head of Eddie Marlin. That's old school hiding hiding a chain, sticking it in the trunk.
It is drawing blood.
The Greens were good at that.
Eddie Marlin is bleeding about the head now. Tojo in there, but Tojo's back out now on the referee's orders. Whatever that, looks like a chain from here. It is Budek's forehead. That has widened the gash right there. Now they're going to work on that head. Bill Dundee working on the head right now. George Barnes got him in the ring.
Boy, Gail, we all miss Tojo. It is freezing a little bit, Adam.
The match. Look at that. Elbow into the forehead of Eddie Marlin as Dundee is widening the cut on Marlin's head. Dundee has blood all over him. Eddie Marlin's one that's bleeding, but Bill Dundee has blood all over his arm from those elbow smashes.
We're having a bit of technical difficulties. Randy's not able to, he's on, but I don't think anybody can see him, so we're working on that.
Look at that. Both wrestlers just working on that head of Eddie Marlin.
You know, I don't know how. I think George Barnes was here for about a year, but boy, he and Dundee, and there's not a lot of film of them together, but they really worked well together. I'm sorry he had it out, although Dundee had a pretty good career without it.
Farther and farther. Eddie Marlin in a bad way in there. Nelson right now. Now Dundee on the top rope. On the top rope. Look at that. Dundee came off of that.
This video was given to us by Randy West, and Adam converted it. Can everybody hear me, Pat?
Yes, sir. You're back on.
What the hell happened?
I don't know. It's frightening for me. Not ready for that mantle of leadership around here.
This has turned into a free throw. Look at that.
We have, for the first time in a long time, we have choppy video, and this is a wild and woolly match from Louisville, Kentucky, as we get out of it right now. As I don't know what happened. I could see the Homer Odell video and the painting, and hadn't got to that. What did you see, Pat, on that video with Homer Odell and the Angel and Bert? It absolutely froze on me.
Old school Hales had the young guy from Mobile in there. Something you never see anymore, and you don't see obviously on modern wrestling. You don't see getting a heel team over by just getting a somebody down low on the card in and beating them up, but going for the pin and then pulling them up by the hair so the referee can't pin them so they can abuse them more. You don't see that anymore. I miss that. I really miss that.
Usually, Pat, I overpack these shows. Of course, we have two less voices on here. I thought we had a heck of a lot and fantastic footage here, Pat.
But we had some very unusual footage that we don't usually see, and I was excited about that. I think it was we've had some great video today.
This is a wild and woolly match. You saw Bill Dundee really bumping for Tojo Yamamoto. Now they're double teaming on Tojo. We should see Eddie. Barnes and Dundee, as Crazy Gail is asking about how are you doing, Pat? Tell Craze how you're doing.
I'm doing fine. Doing good. Doing well. Got my number 2 in the birth order, number 1 in my heart, kid home, and so that's been a good evening for us. So like that.
No wonder I'm not going to broadcast first. But what's going on now? I will say this. What's going on now? Do you think that has something to do with it? That you always say, "Oh, you're number 2 in your life." Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I don't care.
You see who the real freaking heel is, people.
Yeah, I'm the heel. I'm the heel in our house. There's no question about that.
That's nothing to laugh about. You're not a heel to me, thank God.
I'm your valet.
Hell, I wish you'd have been with me Saturday. You'd have bought me all that stuff.
I'd have loaded my trunk up. I'll tell you what, man, you got some good stuff there.
It's just fantastic. It's fantastic. Yeah, we've never got together in Memphis, Pat. As much as you come to Memphis,
no, we had.
You've had the kid there for 2 years, for sure.
4 years. 4 years. He has 11 days left as a college student this round.
That is fantastic. After this video is over and you see him out on the floor, this is my favorite venue in the territory, Louisville. I love the Louisville Gardens. This Eddie Marlin, Tojo Yamamoto, Southern Tag Team Championship with George Barnes and Bill Dundee.
We were while you were off, Randy. We were speculating. How long did Barnes stay?
About 4 months, maybe 5 at the most.
Well, I was commenting, and I don't know how much you saw them work live, but
a lot, yeah.
Okay, well, they worked really well together, and
they were a fantastic team. One of the best heel teams I've ever seen. Look at them now, walking back to the dressing room, and George was fearless. He's going after the crowd. This is just good stuff. Just good video. Barnes just looks like a heel. And
he does.
Flatter and looks mean, Pat.
Yeah. Did he continue his career when he went back to Australia?
Some in Australia, I think, but I don't know much about it. As Tojo and Eddie,
David's been to Rupp. David's talking about Rupp Arena. What was that like, Randy?
Oh, it was the best looking building and the biggest building in the territory. It was nice. It was real nice. Set 16,000 for sure. About 16,000 people, and it was a nice building. Mid-South Coliseum, 11.7. The Louisville Gardens, about 6,500 people.
I think the Boutwell's about 5,500. How often did you run Rupp?
Once a month on a Thursday night.
Okay.
As Tojo and Eddie climbed the stage back in the back, and they have Tojo's shoe there, and there's George Barnes and Richard. George went back to Australia because he, unlike Bill, who's still here, he was homesick and hated America. He really did. Shane says, Randy, did Tracy Smothers ever get to hold the Southern title? No, he did not. He held the Mid-America title. He was a great athlete. He was certainly a great Randy West supplied us with this video. Apparently no audio, but you see how Eddie's selling, and both of them, Pat, this is so important. Eddie is selling. Eddie looks hurt, and that's just great. This is what wrestling should be. This is just good stuff. We don't hear the audio, but Pat, it's so good you don't have to hear the audio, correct?
That's absolutely right, and that's continuing to tell a story after the match.
My time, Pat, it is 8:45, so we will probably be out of here. Michael this weekend, and he's already in Nashville, but he's headed to the Kentucky Derby. Have you ever been to the Kentucky Derby? As we see the people 10 minutes after the match is over, look how excited they are.
Yep. I've not been to the Kentucky Derby. I've been to Churchill Downs on the Thursday before the Kentucky Derby one time, and I've been there a couple of times. Wyatt and I went up, and when he was a junior in high school, we went up there, and he won $122, and he didn't want to go to college. He just thought he'd be a horse track gambler.
That is great. One of the things we're going to talk about now, we'll talk about a little bit current wrestling. I think one thing that's happened, and obviously it happens every year. I'm not into the WWE draft, and those have been what I think is boring TV. And the big news in the AEW camp. And Adam, if you would go to the design section in the pictures, and we're going to show a picture of old Tony Khan, and we are going to talk about that a minute. And this is very rare, Pat. Last Wednesday, for the first time ever, Tony Khan was a part of a physical angle where he was punched in the gut by Jack Perry, and then he took Okada's finish. He took the finish from the Young Bucks, and then the next day he was at the NFL draft. He was actually in Jacksonville. That's why Wednesday night, that's why they ran Jacksonville, so Tony didn't have to travel, and he was a part of the NFL meetings for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's his dad, Shad Khan. Your just thoughts on Tony Khan, who had said at the beginning of the run 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, of AEW, he wouldn't be involved. And, after with all this happening, I pitched in a phone conversation with my friend Brandon Baxter, the idea of doing just that with Jack Perry and getting heat on the heels and the babyface. I did not like the execution of the angle, but I have no problem with trying to get heat on the heels. I don't mind that execution of it all. I don't mind the philosophy of it, getting heat on the heels, but the execution of it, I didn't like.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched it, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Tony Khan is having to learn how to run a wrestling show, a wrestling business on a major network. And and I know that, like, when he was younger, he corresponded with you, I believe.
Yes.
And has in the past, and I know he loves it, and so do I. But and I guess my perspective is, it's just a tough thing, and I'm for him. Some of the stuff is just as Michael says, the drizzling shits.
And no, it's not. We all have different things we like in wrestling.
Well, I know, but I mean, he's not. They've had some pretty down things out there and stuff.
Haven't we? Haven't we?
Yes, we have. But my point of it is, Randy, you spent a decade learning how to do what you did, which is why you did it fantastically. It would be the equivalent of me going off and starting a show, talking Birmingham wrestling. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to, and you don't, everybody that watches this every week, our friends, that make this such a special part of my life, and I know yours too. They don't know the preparation you put into this, and they don't know how much work and effort goes into this. And I know because I start seeing, we have this on Tuesday night, and by Thursday, you'll be preparing for next week's show, and we'll be talking about it. Nobody sees that. Well, Tony was thrown. The first time he was a promoter was on network television,
And
right?
that, yes, and that's a issue with this. I saw a thing, I read a thing just on the internet today where Cody Rhodes may be the hottest drawing wrestler in the world today, and he talked about the AEW thing, and he's keeping it to himself, issues that happened. That's why he left, and he said that what wrestling fans, that this whole thing WWE against AEW, he said you won't hear that from most WWE wrestlers, and this the wrestling fans really don't care about the business of pro wrestling and the health of pro wrestling in general. They listen to, some of them watched enough wrestling. They know what they like, what they don't like. Most of them listens to Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette, and they just repeat back Jim Cornette or Eric Bischoff's opinion. I think it's
I agree.
it's toxic and bad. What Cody Rhodes said is that what the toxic fans or any fans don't understand is that the whole state of the world, the state of the wrestling business, when the only viable place they could go to make a living and make money was WWE, and that happened for decades. With the WWE, the only place you could really make money, and there was exceptions at times. That TNA, when Jeff, before he was banished, I mean, they did a great job. Were they ever close to being number one? No, they weren't, but they gave another alternative. When this is the thing, when Vince had no competition for talent, for contracts, when he was the only person in town, that product was bad.
That's right.
Nobody liked it. Then what happened to because it started, the upswing of WWE started, it was Vince McMahon's idea to bring back Cody Rhodes. It was a lot of stuff on Vince's side, and then Triple H has done a great job of that, of keeping it going. But a lot of things that Vince put in place. But the point is, Pat, I really think that the WWE is in the spot they are now because their back was against the wall. All the publicity, a lot of the publicity was people, because it was a new product. It's just human nature. I don't think AEW's got any worse, or certainly hadn't got any better, but it was different, and the people were excited about a new product. I think Jim Cornette, if he didn't have a podcast, and if Eric Bischoff didn't have a podcast, I don't think you would see the tribalism that you see now. I really don't.
Well, maybe it's human nature. I don't know. I mean, the AEW story, it evolved from the All In thing, and and went from there. And it's a good story. I'll tell you. And I don't know if this is the reason, and it may be because Vince is gone. But I mean, I think the WWE today is as good as it's been in a decade.
I think it's because it has competition.
I don't disagree.
They are firing on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. I mean, it's just great. Hey, we're gonna get out of here a little early today, and we do first takes, and now we're gonna let Pat Trammell do his final take to kind of do a recap of what we've talked about, and we both appreciate everybody watching today. Pat, last take.
Well, we've had some great some great videos from old school, and have enjoyed that very much. One of the things I think, Randy, we talked a little bit about was, we were talking about WWE and draws, and I think I read somewhere where WrestleMania over the 2 days had a gate in excess of $30 million. And that just tells you how big wrestling could be. But whatever we're seeing now, I still like what we were seeing on the videos before. There's, decades and decades of great wrestling, and I'm just happy to be a part of reliving it with our friends here every Tuesday night, and appreciate all the work that you do, which is unsung because people don't see that, but I certainly do. And the work that Adams does, which people certainly don't see, but I do. And I'll tell you, I love our new open, and I appreciate very much the professionalism that this show does. And my best job is to get in here and not mess it up.
Hey, real quick, and with what I'm going to say, try to take about a minute so we can get out of here on time. WrestleMania business. WrestleMania number 1 in 1985 grossed at income-wise $500,000. That is $1.5 million in 2024 money. Now, and so remember those figures, Pat. What I just said. In 1985, they did $500,000. 2024 money, that's $1.5 million. In 2024, they did $38.5 million. 1 minute. 1 minute to comment on that.
That's an incredible amount of money. I mean, that is just incredible.
Just absolutely incredible at all. Shane said, I want to thank each and every one of you keeping the memories of Memphis wrestling alive. I appreciate it very much. And
everybody that watches this show keeps the memories of Memphis wrestling alive. We appreciate y'all.
Shane said, did I ever book an angle that got out of hand like CM Punk Chaos and AEW? No, never nowhere even close. And I'm looking. David says, to AEW Tony's credit, they have me interested to tune in for the first time in a long time. Al Tuttle don't like AEW. It's mostly not watchable, and it is to me. I just don't like staying up to 9 o'clock at night, so I don't watch much wrestling at all. Al says, I don't think Bischoff is on the same level as Cornette with the show, but your point is well taken. Bischoff is getting on my nerves with the AEW talk. He's as whiny as Ronda or Rousey is. So great comments there. Pat, say goodbye to the people.
Good night, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you on the radio, 953theticket.com, Friday morning at 7 Central. Be back Monday night with the Power Hour. I believe we're up to show 116 June of 2000, and that'll be a great Power Hour. Until next time, this won't be the last time. Pat Trammell, Randy Hales, good night, everybody, for Talking Memphis Wrestling. See ya.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales